You think it's bad? We were worse.
The main thing, son, is you got to study the Bible.
I left out the part that made me look bad.
She reached across the table and asked for forgiveness.
Hello, I'm Trevor.
And I'm Laura.
We have a deep passion for helping couples build strong, lasting relationships that truly thrive.
So we created Tools for Marriage.
Tangible, practical tools couples can start using right away.
Wherever you are in the world,
And wherever you are in your relationship.
we truly believe these tools can improve any marriage.
And maybe we put a few divorce lawyers out of business along the way.
Well, welcome. We are very excited to be meeting today with some good friends of ours, hopefully better friends after today, unless it all goes awry. This is Nancy and Ron Anderson, and we're very excited because you guys have a lot of experience in marriage. First of all, how long have you been married?
Oh, we got married in 1978, so this is our 47th. We just celebrated our 47th year, almost 50 since we met.
Oh,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's gone by fast. As you know, it's a blink and another year.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand.
And you did something special for your anniversary then. What was that?
Well, my wife had the idea of let's revisit our early years. So one of the things we did, when I met Nancy at college, she was sitting on a bench reading a book about Groucho Marx. And I walked up to
Comedian.
her and I said, "Is that book funny?" She says, "If you like Groucho, it is." And that won my heart immediately. So we went back to that same spot with the original book.
Oh, man. That's
She-
great.
So
we
all
still
the
have-
glue
with the
is
same
falling
book.
out of the book.
Yeah, and so that's what we did. And then we went to the chapel at Biola University where we were married.
Yeah.
And we went to our house, or the first house we bought when we were young, and one of the first restaurants. The first date was the Magic Castle in Hollywood, but we didn't want to drive to Hollywood, so we went to our second date, which was a little Italian restaurant. And it, although we've changed,
Yeah.
the restaurant is exactly
No,
the
Just-
same.
still the
Just
same.
frozen in
May
time.
even be the
Yes.
same wait staff.
right.
She
Hopefully
served
not.
us. She
The
served us
prices
on
are
a walker.
higher.
Right.
The prices are higher.
Yes.
Yes.
Food tastes
Yeah.
the
Oh, you know,
same.
hopefully not the same cheese, but maybe the same wine. Maybe you know. Yeah.
So that was what we did for our anniversary. It was, and she put it all into AI. Is that what it's called?
I'm learning how to do that.
Look at you, technology.
Put in
That's-
all the addresses and you say,
Right.
how can I visit all these places without backtracking? And
Right.
it went zip, 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 zip.
Able to
Oh,
do
that's
that.
great.
Yeah.
And when an interesting thing is when she posted that, the author of that Groucho Marx book
That's true.
commented,
Oh, wow.
which was pretty amazing.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
said, thank you, Groucho, for connecting us. And he wrote, you ought to thank me.
Wow. Okay.
And then I go,
Yeah, who's
author? And I'm
Right.
like, is that the guy? So I get out the book and that's the guy.
Guy that wrote the
Wow.
Still alive.
But what's amazing is we still had the book.
Yes.
Yeah. That's incredible. So you guys have a pretty impressive bio, Laura. You want to
Yeah.
run through a few
Well,
of the
do you know what?
things?
You guys tell us about it.
Well, I'll let Nancy start. She's the brains of this
Everybody-
outfit.
Puts it on.
Yeah.
Well, Ron is retired right now, but he
Yes.
was a tax accountant, financial planner for many years, and a professional magician. So it's
Yeah.
the right brain, left brain,
No brain.
no brain. So he always had a creative outlet, even though you have to follow the rules for
Yes.
taxes.
Right.
You don't have to for magic. So retired now. We have one son, Nick, who's
Yes.
40, going to be 40. And I worked at various things through the years, but now am writing. Been a contributing writer to about maybe 40 books where I write the stories. They're called anthologies if there's several authors. Like Chicken Soup for the Soul. You might be familiar
Yeah,
with
sure.
that,
Yes,
where there's a group.
Yeah.
So I write for them 20 years. And then I have our marriage story, which is called Avoiding the Greener Grass Syndrome, which is what we learned during several crises
Let's show them some of the bruises.
crisis points in our marriage. And now we kind of clawed our way back. And so it's an encouragement, really, to other couples that you think it's bad. We were worse.
We were worse.
So, but with the Lord, if you're willing to surrender to each other, ask for forgiveness, change your behavior,
Yeah.
and surrender to the Lord's redeeming power in your life, then you can move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we met, I was not a Christian. Nancy was a Christian. And so that's the whole story of me coming to know the Lord and then really making that part of my life.
So it was new to him.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, so I had gone to Bible college and stuff and grew up fairly Christian home.
Yeah.
So
Did you
there
grow
was
up in
I
that.
this
grew up
area?
mostly heathen.
Did you grow?
No. I grew up in Minnesota.
Oh,
So I
okay.
came out to go to Biola.
Gotcha.
And then Papa was a Rolling Stone, so
Yeah.
he
Two
went
different
everywhere.
lives for sure.
Yeah. And you were in the military. You did
I was in the military.
service. Okay.
I got out of high school. Well, I got drafted right after I got out of high school, and I was in the United States Army. And as I explained earlier, my job was traveling the world, entertaining the troops with my comedy magic act. Halfway through basic training, they said, nobody else is going to Vietnam. I said, thank you, Lord. So they put me in special services entertainment where I could do that.
That's
so that was a
incredible.
blessing.
Yeah,
that
that's-
was really an unbelievable opportunity.
So you're like the full-time Bob Hope out
For
there
2
doing
years.
It was,
yeah.
it was
Yeah, it
like
was-
that, yeah.
And the colonel who started our show, he was the liaison with the Bob Hope show back in the day, and he had always wanted to have something like that. And a 4-star general in charge of Western European forces gave him the okay to start something. And so it was we had a music group, band, all of that, and then I was the variety act in the middle of the
Oh,
evening's
that's great.
entertainment.
And was it more of your magic or more comedy?
It was
or?
a combination of the two.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to blend the comedy and the magic to make it more fun for everybody.
Yeah.
And then I got out of the service, went to school, and Nancy got a cheap class at Cerritos College, took a Spanish class, and that's how we met.
It was cheaper credits than
And
Biola.
so, how's the Spanish? Everybody
Yeah,
solid?
let's see how it goes. Let's see.
I don't think I even
We
passed
eat a
that
lot of
class.
Spanish food.
Oh, good.
So that's what came out of that
Yeah.
education.
Yeah, it was just a little moment
Yeah.
in time, and I'm
Yeah.
on a bench reading that book. If I hadn't been reading that book, I don't know
He
if that
might
would
not
have
have even talked
caught
to you
his
about
eye.
it.
I don't know.
Well, I walked out and met her, and she was adorable. Absolutely, she's adorable now. But man, she had a good wit. Because when I asked her about the book, she made a couple of quips that were, okay, I like this.
Yes.
And so the only class I ever missed in college was the next class. I said, "Can I buy you a Coke?"
Oh, yeah,
And
you're
she
skipping
said yes.
class.
You didn't want me to
Okay.
get
So that
Okay.
was we went and had a Coke, and then I think I got her phone number, and then I would ask her out, and she would no, actually I didn't give her a phone number because I would ask her out, and she would say no, thank you. She was very polite. I wasn't her type. She came from Minnesota, so she wanted a surfer. She didn't want
Oh,
a
California boy.
future accountant, financial planner,
Right.
Mr. Conservative. She wanted somebody with long blonde hair, and nice tan, and could surf the wave.
Did you razzle dazzle her with a little magic and a
I
little comedy
asked her
though?
out probably at least 8 times.
Okay.
And I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
It was a lot before she finally said yes. And then our first date was the Hollywood Magic Castle, which is a private club.
That won me over.
Yeah. The next day she kicked the surfer to the curb and dated the nerd, me.
There you go.
You did well. You did well. Yeah.
So we started dating pretty serious at that point. I was kind of dating another gal, and I kicked her to the curb. Sorry. Because I just, there was just something about her. Now, I was not a believer. She was a believer. She was going to Biola. She shouldn't even have been talking to me, much less going out to dinner with me.
Probably so.
But through that dating process is how I came to know the Lord, which made her parents very nervous. I didn't send you to Bible college to date a non-Christian. So actually at some point they made her break up with me for quite some time. And I was complaining to a friend of mine, and he said, so I don't get it. You think this is the one, and you're not going to go back and fight for her? And I said, that's a good point. So I went back into the battle and got another date. And then her mother and father made her promise at some point, if he doesn't come to know the Lord by this time, you're going to break up with him and never see him again, or we're going to bring him back to Minnesota. I did not know this.
Yeah.
But when the Biola girls would date guys, they called it missionary dating. Sometimes you'd go to E.V. Free with Chuck Swindoll, and sometimes you go to Chuck Smith Calvary Chapel. So we'd go back and forth to that. And that was having an impact on me.
Yeah.
And at some point, I called up Ken Bemis, the associate pastor at EV Free. I says, I want to come in and I want to really get a handle on becoming a Christian. I need to understand this before I make this decision. And I went in and I accepted the Lord that day. I told 2 people. I called her, and then I called my father, who made fun of Christians his entire life. So I was kind of putting myself out there.
Yeah.
And his response, which still blows me away, was, the main thing, son, is you got to study the Bible. Instead of ridiculing and humiliating, he said that.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing.
And it was within the time frame that it was actually my mother had set as the deadline. I didn't tell him there was a time.
Right.
No idea.
You're not trying to pressure him
And
into
I didn't
this.
know
You're
he
just
made
saying,
an appointment.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just hoping I was going to work on pushing the timeline back, but I didn't have to.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
That's
But
amazing.
her mother was still doubtful.
Sure.
Because, the guy's
They've got
accepting
one
the Lord
daughter.
just so he could date my daughter.
Right.
And for probably 3 years, it was not good. She didn't want me around. She didn't like me around. We didn't connect. And then through a series of circumstances, there was a shift there. And I think that was the Lord. And at a certain point, do we go to that direction yet?
If you want.
So after we were married, I was not a good husband. Even though I'd accepted the Lord, I was not a nice guy. I would find reasons to fight or argue and bicker over nonsense, anything and everything. So we were kind of emotionally disconnected. And I was kind of pushing Nancy away fairly dramatically with my verbal beatings. And she fell in love with a guy at work. So one day she says, I'm moving out. And I'm like, and one part of me is like, well, why? And the other part is like, okay, go.
And how long were you married at that point?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
I was 24 then, and Ron was 26
26.
or 7. So we were still really young
Right.
and dumb. So dumb.
So she came home one day and said, I'm moving out. I want a divorce. Well, I wanted to fight and make fun of her and belittle her and argue with her, but I didn't want her to move out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know, you don't know the damage you're doing to somebody when you're doing this because they're still in front of you.
Well, and he had seen the example of his parents who were volatile but stayed together.
Right.
So he thought that's how it worked.
Sure.
Is we get to do all
Yeah.
this stuff and it'll just go on for 50
Yeah.
years. And I'm
Sure.
like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Well, you grow up and you think this is the way you're supposed to do it.
Correct. And my parents,
Well,
I
my
never
dad was
saw
a
them
wife
fight.
beater, so I
He
grew up
was-
watching
he was-
that. He was an alcoholic, carouser. He was in and out of the house many times with different women, and sometimes I would live with him and his new girlfriend for a while. So that was my, like, we were wild animals, and you've got leave it to beaver lifestyle. And now the Lord says, okay, figure this thing out.
Right.
Kids, have fun. It's going to be
So
interesting.
I didn't know what to do with conflict like that.
And her mother was not very supportive because they met my family the night of rehearsal dinner. They flew out from Minnesota. They met all of my people for the first time. And that night, Nancy goes back to her apartment with her girlfriends, and her mother calls her and begs her to call off the wedding the night before the wedding. I get it. I understand it on an
If we had a
intellectual.
daughter, we would.
I would say you can't marry into
I didn't
these,
get it at the time.
these wild animals. They're crazy.
Yes.
And Nancy almost had a nervous breakdown because we're getting married in the morning.
Right. Right.
And it was awful. So anyway, we got married. I had the stomach flu the day of the wedding. I wasn't nervous. I know my body. I couldn't walk up a step without making sit down for 20 minutes. And I asked my buddy to pick me up 2 roses, one for Grandma, her grandmother, and one for her mother. And so I thought, oh, this is so cool. She's gonna love. And they both of them said, what are we supposed to do with these?
Well, it's just a rose with the thorns on it, and he hands it to them, and they're like,
I'm thinking, yes.
his heart
I'm
was
gonna
in
win
the
a war.
right
Heart,
place.
that's right.
Yes.
Like a wrist thing, I don't know.
Yes.
He saw it as an act of
Yes.
love, but they didn't receive it well.
Yes.
So anyway, it was a miserable wedding. It was just not fun. It was awful. And then we went back to, I had bought a little house, and Nancy moved in that night.
Yeah.
So I go back, I said, I'm going to lay on the floor a minute. Just, can you bring all the presents in? And we were supposed to go to Beverly Hills for the night. And I said, oh, call the hotel, tell them we're not coming. And I didn't move for the next 14 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then
You
the
know,
next,
like the outline of a dead guy on the ground?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Like-
much my memory of
of
Right.
our honeymoon.
laying
At
in the
what
living
point should I
room
pull the
floor.
chalk out? I'm not sure.
I come back out in the morning, he's still in the
Yeah.
same
It
spot.
might have been your family. You never know.
That's
There could have
true.
been something.
There could have been.
So there was a horrible, horrible
Nefarious.
beginning. And then we went on our honeymoon and fought most of the way. And then we came back to reality. And I really didn't know how to be a husband. You know, I found reasons to criticize her and bicker and argue and all the things you shouldn't be doing with your new sweetheart. Would you agree to that?
It was very contentious. And we didn't have any money. So money was always an issue. He didn't see the value of a towel rack. Like a $5 at the time, go to Zodi's, get a towel rack. The cheapest one.
That was a 5-minute argument.
Oh, 5 minutes.
5 days.
5-day argument.
Yes.
So it was he didn't see the importance of making the home
Oh.
attractive and having towels that matched and that kind of thing. That was just nuts.
Not.
Yeah, it's interesting how we do, you know, when we from our family of origin and what we've seen or whatever are the things that we value or the way that we think things are going to
This
be.
is how
It
it's
just
supposed
feels
to be.
logical,
Yes.
you know. Like my dad's very much about the gamification of saving money, and even if you have to drive, you know, further to get tires, you get a good deal. And so
Yes.
that's part of my, you know, the gamification. And Laura's like, that's not how I do it. You
We're
know,
not going
Right.
to dinner with you.
so those
There you go.
those two things they run into each other and they can cause a lot
Yes.
of conflict. you know?
We're in front of a gas
But you know,
station.
as you're
Let's
going
get
through
gas
life-
here. That's
It's like,
no,
no, we're going to go across town.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you don't know as you're growing up that that's becoming part of who you are. It's just subliminal, I guess.
Yeah.
We take on that baggage
Yes.
and don't even realize it. And now we get together with another person that thinks just the opposite and let the party begin. Right?
Well, and we do talk about that with
Right.
couples. Family origin has a lot to do with
So
your
much.
point of view.
Yes.
There's male and female. There's personalities. I'm more of an introvert. He's the extrovert. He's more optimist. I'm more not so sure
me too, yes.
about most things.
Yeah.
You've got to vet everybody.
Yes.
So all those things come together, and you've got some conflict.
And you got a mother-in-law that probably would like her to split
And
up with
in-law
this guy.
problems,
In-law
too.
problems.
Which is
Well,
difficult.
yeah,
That's
that
very
can
So we
difficult.
tried never to have. Fortunately, they live in Minnesota. My people were in California, so they never really got together because it wouldn't go well.
Yeah.
So,
So you say 2 years in or 4 years in, and then you have
Yeah,
this...
2 years into the marriage.
Okay.
So there was a guy at work. So to set it up, Ron, I would come home after work and he would be waiting because I had done something wrong at the house, whatever it was, didn't do something right. So that's what I came home to, and I'm like, I don't like coming home. So I wouldn't.
I was horrible.
So there's a guy at work, and he thinks I'm so funny and so clever and can't do anything wrong, and you deserve to be happy. And so slowly it started. I'll tell you the minute it started, and it started because I was unguarded. His name's Jake, the other man. So we're at a meeting, and his leg bumped up against mine, which happens when you're in a setting. But usually you'll go, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't move my leg.
Yeah.
I let it sit. And me having him, that nonverbal connection sent him a
Somewhat
message.
intimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Little.
that's interesting. I'm sure he thought that. She didn't pull away. And he didn't either. So there's this little electric spark that started fairly small and then grew, and then we'd make sure we sat by each other. And then we'd go to lunch with the group, but we'd go in a separate car, and then we go to lunch alone. So it was a slow progression of of sin, really. But it happened over time. And we were having so many problems. Not to excuse anything, but you can see what the setup is. It's the greener grass
And
syndrome.
we'd think, let's not go to church this weekend.
Spiritually.
Let's go see a movie.
Yes.
So spiritually, we were dying.
That's true too.
Yeah.
And his friends were advising him one way. My friends were at work. Most were recently divorced. So they're like, well, dump the bomb. You deserve to be happy. Come out with us.
Yes.
So then I start going out with the single girls, and that's not a good environment.
Yep.
So it was this progression of being unguarded and not in the Word at all,
None.
and getting bad advice
Yes.
from friends. And so that's how it happened. And so it's a long story on how we got back together. But we did.
Yes.
And I asked for his, it was actually through my parents, which is pretty amazing because they were the ones that were against the marriage.
Right.
But when we were in a crisis, they stood with
They
him.
rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
Because her mother told her, or her dad says, she says, well, he doesn't make me happy. And her father says, I didn't raise you to be happy. I raised you to behave. Now go back and talk
You're out
to
of
your
line.
husband and figure this thing out.
He didn't say, come home, baby girl.
Yes.
Yes.
He said, no, you've got to work this out. You got to wait till he comes home. That's
Yeah.
a long story too.
Yeah.
But he did come back. I confessed. And then we went back to my parents' house. And they kind
Well,
of
first
counseled
she went
us
back for
through.
3 days without me.
Well, I broke up with the guy.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
broke up with
Yeah.
I quit my
Colin.
job.
Yeah.
I never went back.
Yeah.
Ron talked to him on the phone, said, you're going to stay away, right? We're going to try to work this out. So I said, stay away. Ron said, made him promise. And,
But he says,
and
can I
did.
talk to her again? So I gave him the phone, and she says, no, I'm going to go back to, because I could hear her side of the conversation. He wanted to hear her say it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to my husband, and I won't see you again. And then
And I
so
quit.
then I got the phone. I said, okay, so I need to know, man to man, you're not going to be in the shadows. I'm going to have to be looking over my shoulder 24/7. He says, she'll never see me again, and you've never seen him again.
Yeah.
Not that I know of. He's an old man now. I might have. Not on purpose.
So, you admitted, you say, look, I wasn't a good husband. I wasn't treating her right. I wasn't doing the things I needed to do. At the same time, you were the one who stepped outside of the bonds of marriage. And so
Right.
how did you actually find out about it? Was it things that you recognized, or did she come clean at some point, and was it a surprise?
At some point, she came clean to
Okay.
it. I knew she didn't
Well, I
like
wanted
me.
to leave. I told him I was done with them and leaving him, but I left out the part that made me look bad, of course. Which
right.
is how we
I see.
view everything.
Sure,
Like, you're
yeah.
so bad.
I can't do it anymore.
And I can't
Yeah.
take it anymore.
Well, I
it's
didn't
too
know.
painful. Well,
Yeah.
he didn't know that there was
So
a guy.
again, how does the Lord orchestrate this? So now we've moved out of our or she's moving out of the condo. She moved out, and I was going to be in Pasadena for a couple of days, and I wasn't going to let her back in there and get those 8-track tapes. Those are my
Those are
8-track
literally
tapes.
we're fighting
We're
over.
fighting over 8-track
Yes,
tapes,
yes.
which I wish I had now. And so, as I was leaving to go to Pasadena for a couple of days, I said, I'm not giving you the key to the condo because I don't want you to take anything unless I'm supervising it. But somewhere as I threw the keys under the mat, I called her, I said, the keys are under the mat, take whatever you want, I don't care anymore. And then I headed out to Pasadena. And she was going to come over Sunday, and I left town Friday morning, and Friday night I'm in Pasadena for 3 days, and I start crying that night in the middle of the show, and I said, I got to go home. And my friend says, we're supposed to be here for 3 days. I said, I got to go home. So we head home. She was going to come over Sunday, but the Lord told her to go Friday night to start cleaning out the stuff. So we get there, and my friend, we see her car. He says, you want me to go in with you? I said, no, I'll go in by myself. And she went to get there Friday night, and the phone rings, and it's her mother. She says, what's wrong? Nothing. No, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is telling me that something's wrong. I can't sleep. No, everything's fine. No, talk to your daddy. She can't lie to her dad. They're like connected.
Yeah.
Well, your mother can't sleep. What's going on back there? I'm leaving Ron. He doesn't make me happy. And my father-in-law says, I didn't raise you to be happy. I raised you to behave. Now talk to your husband and figure this thing out.
Yes.
So a few hours later, I show up and her car's there, so I go in. I don't know that she's having an affair yet. I just know she's fed up with me.
Yeah.
So she said, sit down, I need to share something with you. And that's when she told me she was in love with this other guy. And that's what this is all about. But she wants to try to figure it out. So we decided that we would go to San Diego for a couple of days and just talk.
Well, but here's the miracle part, is that he, who had raged about,
Everything.
what kind of spoon I bought. I mean, just ridiculous stuff. Here I'm telling him that I have a boyfriend, and he's very calm. I mean, it was really a miracle because he realized that this was the tipping point.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I do in this next 5 minutes,
Yes.
because I'm still, the cat that's ready to bolt based on his reaction. But he was very calm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, here's another thing.
He was relieved in a way. I think all the pieces came together and he's like,
Well, he says not just me, I guess, too. You know, recognizing that I'm not the only problem, if you will.
yes.
You know,
And I was very broken and contrite about it and said, I've betrayed you. It's my fault. I've been lying to you. So for once I was transparent.
Yeah.
And I think that reassured him that, well, maybe there's hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we literally stayed up and talked like almost till the next morning.
Yeah.
And then she got a plane ticket and flew back to Minnesota to counsel with her mom and dad for a week. And the first thing her dad said, because that's when she confessed to me that night that she was having an affair.
Yeah.
Because up till then I just thought she hated me. I didn't know she was in love. And so that was that dynamic. So the next morning she gets on the plane and flies back. Or no, the first thing her parents did was call a pastor in the area that they knew. Can you meet with my kids? They're at
That's
the death's
true.
door.
Crisis.
So we met with an older couple who's now, they were probably younger than we are now. And they kind of helped us get off the cliff in that sense. And then the next day, she flew back to Minnesota to counsel with them. And then 2 days later, I got on the plane and I flew back. But she called her company on Monday morning and talked to the president and said, I'm having an affair with Jake. I'm quitting the job. I'm not coming back. Take everything that's mine, just throw it in the trash. He said, you're doing the right thing. So that's affirmation.
Which was a total
Yes.
surprise.
Yeah.
This is a secular guy.
Yes.
Yes.
But he said, no job's worth your marriage. You'll get another job,
Yes.
but you may not get another husband.
Yes.
So you go home.
So she goes back, and then I follow a couple of days later, and we're still not in love with each other. I mean, there's still a problem. Oops.
Sorry.
So that night, we prayed after dinner, and that night we talked before was the first time we talked when she confessed she was having this affair. First time we talked without yelling at each other. I was, oddly enough, I just was listening and taking it in. But her parents said, her dad, so wise, good Christian man, said, okay, this is your first night. Before this starts healing, Nancy, you have to ask your husband for forgiveness. Ron, you have to decide if you're going to forgive her or not. Or is this going to be your trump card every time you get in a fight?
Yeah.
I didn't cheat on you.
Wow.
Boom. I just won the argument.
Win every argument.
Yes.
I want you to think about it. So that night we went to bed. She slept on that side of the bed. I slept on that side of the bed because that's where we were emotionally and physically and every other way. And the next morning, my sweet wife,
So cute.
she reached across the table and asked for forgiveness. And the Lord gave me the ability to forgive her. How does he do that? It was gone. It never bothered me ever again. But I get emotional thinking,
Sure.
how did
How is it
Any
possible?
other time I would have thrown something against the wall. How does he change my heart? And when she comes home, I'm willing to just forget about it.
Yes.
It's just
Supernatural.
It was supernatural.
Yeah, we can't do it. We
Yeah.
can't do it of our
No,
own.
Yeah.
because I didn't deserve it, and that was my premise
right.
in talking to him. Was I don't deserve. You have all biblical grounds to cut
Yes,
me out,
yes.
and I wouldn't blame you if you do.
Yes.
But I can tell you that God changed my heart, and I see now what I did in the progression of how it happened, and I am going to guard my heart now, and I'm not going to go down that path. But I'd like to spend the rest of my life with you if you'll have me.
But the wisdom of her father, knowing that had to take place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Sure.
Different than I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's
Correct.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Just,
Will you
just talk it
forget-
out, hash it out, make sure,
Yeah,
but
I'm
this is
sorry.
the process.
It gives me
that
all
needs-
the power.
That's right. Yeah.
It's very difficult to say, will you forgive me?
Right. Yeah. And you
Because
don't
they've
get to
got-
control what they say.
Correct.
Right? You can only say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me?
Right.
So the next morning at breakfast, she reached across the table and she grabbed my hand and asked for forgiveness. And I said, I forgive you. I became my mother-in-law's favorite son. A woman that wouldn't give me the time of day became my best friend for the next 40 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Just gives me chills.
How does that happen?
Yes.
She saw how much he loved
Yeah.
And we were,
me
Yeah.
when we went
beyond
on vacation,
any logic.
her and I would go this way, her and her dad would go that way. We just sit under a tree and talk. Whereas before, like, how did this guy get my daughter's life?
Right.
How does that? And we were best friends till the day she died. I mean,
That's
it's just really mind blowing. And that's
It
we all
healed a
know
lot of relationships.
that that's the Lord.
Yeah.
A lot of
for sure.
dynamics.
And we'd spend almost a month with him every year after my season was over. We'd go back there and spend a month with him and travel. And
Yeah.
Yeah, and they moved out.
Look how God worked. I mean, do you know,
I
you just
know.
think, oh, this is horrible, our lives are falling apart.
Right.
And then to see how God worked in the
Yeah.
midst of that.
And it did fall apart. It fell as far apart as you can fall, and yet God put it back together.
Yeah.
And that's what we encourage couples with that we talk to
Oh,
now.
sure. Yeah.
Because we are like the old couple that we went to, because someone from church or a friend will say, there's a couple here on the cliff. Can you see them? And we said,
Yes.
send them over. So, that role that helped us, the mentors that helped us,
Yeah.
now we're helping others.
Right.
And usually the first thing we say is, there is a way through this. And let's get through the next 3 days or the next one day.
Yeah.
So just that little,
A little bit
glimmer,
of hope. Yeah.
because they just can't see any way through it.
Right.
They've been so wounded and
Yeah.
damaged and
Yeah.
betrayed in some
Right.
cases.
And we still were kind of going like this for a few years, trying to learn how to fall back in love.
Yeah.
We recommitted ourselves to the Lord and made a commitment to go to church regularly, consistent, study
Yeah.
the Word. So we started putting the building blocks in place that we should have started with, a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, I'm 73, she's 70 in a couple of weeks. We still have disagreements. We still step
We
on
had
each
a rough
other's-
week last week.
Yeah, we did, but we regroup
Yeah.
and we talk about it and try to solve the problem, using some wisdom. And you go through different seasons in your life. So any young couples that might be listening to this, hey, your little earthquake's waiting for you down the road. You don't see it coming,
Right.
but the enemy is always at work. He wants to split you up, separate the family, separate the kids, and just wreak havoc with your family. You're the guardian of all of this. So you have to focus on, okay, let's rebuild.
Right.
And expect downtimes. It's never going to be a honeymoon, 365 days a year. You're going to get on each other's nerves. And you got to be willing to study the Word, learn how to change your behavior, learn the techniques, talk to the pastor, talk to the associate pastor, go to the marriage retreats. All of that stuff is like building a fortress around your marriage.
Yeah.
All of those little things that you do are building blocks that help protect it. You're still going to not drive each other nuts. Like she said last week, we had an argument about stuff, and it took us about 18 hours to get through that.
Yes.
because we're flawed. We're sinners. That's
Yes.
Everybody's selfish.
That's right.
My
Selfish.
point of view is the
Is the
only
right.
logical, brilliant one.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he has a different point of view.
So what are some of the things you mentioned, a few of them there, in terms of, building that fortress around it? If you know that earthquake is coming eventually, right? Then they say, okay, get your, getaway bag and get your food in it. I mean, what are the things that you would advise?
number one.
To be continued in episode 10.
Thanks for listening.
Please subscribe or follow to get notified with each new episode of the Tools for Marriage podcast.
We're cheering you on.